Hello and welcome to Naval Horizons. I'm Samina Mondal, a public affairs intern with the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory, part of the Naval Research Enterprise. Today, I have the pleasure of being joined by the incredible Dr. Theresa Shafer, the Director of Engineering Education and Research Partnerships at Naval Air Warfare Center's Aircraft Division. Thank you for joining us, Theresa.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Only you could say it best. What is your role as a director?
It is a mouthful, right? So my job is relationships. So I try to build relationships with folks outside of the base. So we're talking about both faculty and students to help progress our science and technology inside the gate so that we can both cultivate a future pipeline of excited students and engineers and scientists, as well as our basic and applied research.
Wonderful. So every Department of Navy employee has a story. Could you walk us through your professional background, a bit of where you started with academics and how you got into the Navy?
Sure. So I'm an aerospace engineer, and when I finished my bachelor's degree, I wasn't quite done. I loved what I was learning. I was very excited. I liked fluid dynamics a lot, but I wanted to learn more. So I decided to go into graduate school, and I pursued a master's, again, in aerospace engineering, and my research was all in modeling and simulation. It's something called Computational Fluid Dynamics, or CFD for short, another mouthful, but it's really exciting. It's where you get to use computers to kind of have a virtual playground for evaluating the fluid dynamics over various bodies, so in our case, aircraft. And then in graduate school, I was working for a company, aerospace company, that was doing internal combustion analysis, air-breathing combustion. And I was able to work with them on a PhD dissertation, and that's what I did for a long time until I came to the Navy about 15 years ago, still working in modeling and simulation.
Incredible to see how that all came together from the beginning of your journey to now. So what exactly encompasses engineering education and research partnerships?
Yeah, so with the work I was doing back in my applied aerodynamic branch, and where I was doing a lot of the modeling and simulation, I loved the application. I loved being able to touch a lot of different aircraft and work with that, but I had more satisfaction out of developing the next generation and working with other engineers. And so about 3 years ago, I made the change to have the job I have now, which is extremely unique in that I get to do both the technical work as well as the workforce development. So I get to work with engineers and help them find their path and entry into the Navy for employment as civilians, as well as I get to work with our faculty researchers on the outside and researchers on the inside, and get to connect them to help advance some of our technology areas to help us meet our capabilities for our next future Navy.
Wow, so you truly are a people person in the workforce.
I do like people.
So what would you say are some unique traits or traits that you love the most when it comes to your position?
I love the ability that I get to get inspired by students. So when I went into the field because it was very exciting. I loved being around airplanes. I loved being able to test my skills out, and I guess I was always very good when I was little at breaking things, so solving problems became something that I learned how to do really quickly. And now all that excitement, when you're in the field for a while, you might lose a little bit of it. But when I'm back around students and I take them on tours of our labs or take them into our aircraft and our hangars, that excitement is very contagious, and I love that. I also love being around how quickly technology is evolving, and a lot of the work that the students are learning today in their classroom are things that didn't exist when I was back in school. So I almost get to do a little bit more continuing ed through them and through some of our technology projects that we have with them.
That's wonderful. So the learning really never stops on the position.
No.
So as an expert in the field, I'm sure you've experienced all the challenges and the wins that come along with projects, and especially to do with aerospace in general. Yeah. So do you have a favorite memory while on the job?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll give you two, and they're very different. One is from my science and technology background, and one will be from my outreach background. The science and technology, one of the first projects that I got to work on was actually across all of our services for the Department of Defense, and it was a software development project. Mm-hmm. So it's not often that you hear of DoD developing software, but it's called the CREATE program. It's to take physics-based tools and help use it to support our program offices and some of our aircraft programs, things like that. And it gave me the experience to not only apply my technical knowledge and grow technically by a strong amount, but it also taught me how to work across a lot of different our DoD entities, our partners. I had to work a lot with academia because they were developing some of the cutting edge algorithms that we needed to incorporate. And also agile software development. So technically I grew a lot in a very short period of time because of that opportunity, so that was fun. From a non-technical perspective, we do an outreach effort every year with middle school girls, and it's one of the things that it's a lot of work, but we love doing it because the girls are very captivating, exciting, and we give them an opportunity to do what we really like. So we bring workshops to about 100 middle school girls every year in person, give them an opportunity to do hands-on stuff, and I work with some of the best engineers that do this all on a volunteer basis. So we pull together, this year I think we had almost 90 volunteers come together, and it just shows how much that our engineers and scientists want to give back to our community, and I love that idea and that concept. It's very fulfilling.
I can hear within your voice just the enthusiasm behind the project, not only hosting it, but taking part in it, which is such a special experience.
Yeah.
So thinking back to those technical topics that you were touching on and the cutting edge technology, how exactly does your work within education and research partnerships actively serve to combat these naval challenges that you may be presented with?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because we work so closely with a lot of our partners that there's not any way that we can move the technology forward in a vacuum. So we have to rely, and especially with the pace of technology development today, we have to rely on everybody pulling the rope in the same direction, that we're all working together to tackle some of these challenges that we're seeing and that we're advancing those technologies. So whether it's related to autonomy and artificial intelligence, hypersonic systems, materials, high temperature materials, there's a lot of opportunity for us to engage and work with one another to partner and really advance some of those capabilities that we have. And from the student perspective, I'm a big fan of getting students engaged early in research because it's a way that they begin to apply that knowledge they're learning in the classroom. And sometimes the math and science you learn in the classroom can seem almost like an enigma and you're not sure how you can use it. So when you begin to apply it, it really starts to sink in, you can understand it, and then you get to keep and retain that knowledge, which is very powerful when you need to apply it to something else.
Right, it's a really priceless opportunity to use those skills.
Absolutely.
And looking forward, how do you envision aerospace providing the Navy with these forms of innovation that you talk about?
Yeah, so aerospace engineering is the backbone for naval aviation. There are a lot of other fields that go into it that I think are going to be really critical as well. So your computer science fields, your computer education, as I mentioned just a minute ago, artificial intelligence, hypersonic systems. A lot of these different technology spaces are going to require that advanced knowledge that students are learning within the aerospace industry to be able to propel naval aviation into the next generation.
And thinking back almost, if you were to go to Theresa back in high school or college, and you were to meet a fellow student of aerospace, what is one piece of advice you would give them about the future in the field that maybe you would have liked to have heard while you were learning?
Absolutely. Today, I think all engineering students should have some form of computer literacy. I think they should be learning how to leverage their computer skills for their engineering applications, whether it's hardcore programming or just manipulation of different data sets. Knowing how to understand and manipulate it is going to be a critical skill set. I also think getting involved in as much as you can, especially while you're in school, get involved in a team. It helps you understand what you're doing. It helps you build a network. It helps you get more excited about the work that you're doing. So get involved and advance your computer literacy as much as possible.
Wonderful. So our last question, Theresa, is in your vast experience through all aspects of the Navy, what makes it worthwhile?
Working for the Navy is a lot of fun. Definitely from the standpoint of you get to see and hear and touch aircraft on a regular basis. There isn't a day that goes by when you're down at Patuxent River Naval Air Station that you don't see an aircraft, and aircraft that range from ones that are older than me to brand new coming off of initial development and testing that are sitting out there on the runways. So that's really exciting. But also there's a lot of opportunity for growth and for the individual to take their career wherever they want it to go. Whether you want to stay technically in depth and be able to do research your entire career, or do like I did, which is do research as well as get to do workforce development or supervisory or program management, you have an ability to make an impact from the beginning and all throughout your career. So it's been an exciting place for me to work. I really enjoy it. I like getting up and going to work every day, so I think it's a great place to be, and I want other young engineers and scientists to come and work for the Navy and see what an exciting ride it is as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shafer, for sitting with us today and letting us hear about your story. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And thank you to all at home. Be sure to check out past and future episodes of Naval Horizons. And until next time, I'm Samina Mondal.